Welcome there, ladies and gents. This is Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 16, to be perfectly precise. I'm your host, Billy Donnelly, who you can find at joeblow.com. This is Infamous, and of course, right here at Just the Worst Podcast. And Happy New Year! Oh, what a celebration. This is the very last show of 2015. In kind of, I guess, the very first show of 2016, since I'm literally straddling the line and getting this out on New Year's Eve, right before I go out to celebrate and ring in the new year. So whether or not you're listening to it in 2015 or in 2016, Happy New Year. I hope it's been a good one. I hope you had a good time, or you're planning on having a good time, or whatever. Either way, you were safe and enjoyed it, rang it in the right way with your family as we transition and move into 2016. So, going to do something a little bit special here for this particular show. Obviously, Hollywood is basically shut down after the holidays. Nobody gives a shit as we move towards the new year. Everybody's kind of took off right around Christmas. So, there is no real news to kind of discuss, but I think what I wanted to do here on this particular show is I wanted to go in depth and hit my top 10 of 2015. Now, next week on the show, what I'm going to do is we're going to run down the most anticipated films of 2016. That's the way we're going to transition into the new year. So we're going to look ahead next week, but this week we're going to look back. We're going to look back and we're going to say, what was it? What stuck with us? What stood the test of time? What, as we change the calendar, well, actually not change, just change the calendar. We toss the old calendar, bring in a new calendar. What films over the course of the year resonated with us? Which ones stayed in order to make a top 10? Now, here's the way a top 10 list should work, okay? Lots of people have their own ideas on what a top 10 list should be. They try to fill all kinds of quotas. They're trying to, maybe they want to make sure a foreign film gets in there, or make sure an animated film gets in there, or make sure an indie film gets in there, or tries to recognize certain things, or tries to stand back and tries to take on this kind of omnipotent presence and be completely objective and judge and look at all the films that came down the pike in 2015 and try to, quality-wise say, these are the best. That's not really how a top 10 should work. A top 10, look, who am I to say what the 10 best movies are of 2015? Even then, who am I to say what the best is? My 10 best are going to be different than your 10 best. And that's why a top 10 list should be yours. It should be personal. It should be what connected with you. And it shouldn't be like everyone else's. Now, granted, you may have some similarities, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody else who had the 10 exact movies as you in the exact same order. Because it just doesn't work like that. And even then, let's say you did. Let's say through some rare coincidence, you found somebody. You found somebody who had those 10 exact movies in that exact order as you. Your reasons for putting them in those places and on that list are going to be different. That's what I'm saying. So when it comes to a top 10 should be a personal, subjective list of your 10 favorite movies. Best, favorite, it's interchangeable. Either way, though, they're yours. So before I get into it, before I kick this off, I just want to let you, look, you're welcome to agree with me. You're welcome to disagree with me. You're welcome to have your own ideas, because that's what I'm encouraging you to do. And I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear what made your top 10 list and why. But look, when you hear this list and you say, but what about that movie? But what about that movie? Well, they may have been considered, but they didn't make the cut. So this is my top 10 list. The films that stayed with me. Feel free to make your own list. This one, though, this one is mine. So, without further ado, let's get down to business. Here I want to add one thing before I hit number 10, and that is my list was incredibly top heavy. Okay, in usually the way it works is I pull together. I bring up the release date calendar from January to December, and I go through and I look at everything that I've seen, and I kind of, as I come across something that I really liked, I throw it onto the side. I put it on a list, and I just start, not on a list, just a collection. I just start collecting movies that I really dug over the course of the year. And then once I get through December and I look at the collection of what I have, then I start to sort through. So really I started one. I started one and I worked my way backwards. So I hit my number one, my top movie of the year, and then I go to the second and the third, and I work my way back until I get to number 10. And the way it worked this year, I'm going to count them off for you just so you have an idea of what I was looking at here when I started. When I had my whole collection here, all right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 movies, which is about par. Usually I'm in somewhere in the neighborhood of like 14 to 17. This year I had 15 films that were in consideration. Now, I'm not going to talk about the honorable mentions or the almost was's. We're only going to talk about the 10. But I had 15, and my list was incredibly top-heavy. Because, really, I had 6. My top 6 are solid. My top 6 are films that I really loved. These are films that I really loved. These are films that in thinking about them, I was like, oh, god damn, I fucking love that movie. And then 7 through 10... they're kind of interchangeable. 7 through 10, I couldn't get 10 movies that I really loved this year. I tried. I really looked at them. And I couldn't get 10 that I really loved. I got 6 that I really loved. And then the other 9 in my collection here are films that I really liked. I really liked them. I didn't love them, but I really liked them enough to think about them hard enough and see whether or not they would make the cut. So only 4 films there were able to make it from the remaining 9. And if I took one of them out and I replaced it with another that was just outside, I don't know that I'd be heartbroken. That's how close they were. But I know that 1 through 6 were higher. They were pretty established. They were pretty concrete. And the other 4, well, they managed to finagle their way on here somehow. So, excuse me, with that said, let me grab just a swig of water here. So with that said, just know that 10, 9, 8, and 7 earned their spots on here, but it was close for them to actually make it. So, let's get into the list. Let's work our way down from 10 until we get to the number 1. So if you want number 1, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to go through the rest of the list as we build this thing. So at number 10, as we get this bad boy started, my number 10 film of 2015. Kingsman: The Secret Service. Now, this is one that goes all the way back to February here in the United States. And I know you're looking at this perhaps on your end and you're saying, really? Billy, really? Kingsman: The Secret Service? Yes, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Sometimes you just want a movie that's fun. Like a movie that's really fun to sit through and delivers on every single thing you want it to deliver on. And we had a number of spy flicks that came down the road this year. Spy, the Melissa McCarthy spoofish comedy. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the Guy Ritchie adaptation of the TV show, James Bond with Inspector, Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. I thought was pretty good. I actually like Ghost Protocol a little bit better, and I didn't think that Ghost Nation, is it Ghost? No, Ghost Protocol. I didn't think that Rogue Nation. Just put a number on a Mission Impossible movie so I can keep track of them more easily. I really liked Rogue Nation, but it didn't hit me as well as Ghost Protocol had. But Kingsman: The Secret Service, which is Matthew Vaughn's adaptation of the Mark Millar, Dave Gibbons comic book, I just thought was really outstanding. Fun on a number of levels, and kind of, put something different into the spy genre. It kind of worked with some familiar spy movie conventions, and spy movie tropes, but subverted them very smartly, very intelligently, very cleverly to kind of put a new stylish spin on them, do something different. It didn't feel like the same old when you're watching the Kingsman: The Secret Service. It felt fresh. There was a new coat of paint on this old jalopy, and as a result, I had a really good time watching it, and I had almost forgotten about Kingsman: The Secret Service until I was once again going through the calendar and pulling off what I saw, and I remembered just how much I like Kingsman: The Secret Service, how fun it was to get in it. I think Taron Egerton is a star in the making. Colin Firth helps ground this film, as well as Mark Strong. Samuel L. Jackson is a fantastic villain, and Sophia Boutella, who is an amazing villainous henchman. Look, from top to bottom, it's really well structured. The hero's journey is quite apparent in it, but it was one of the best times I recall having in the movie theater this year, and as a result, Kingsman: The Secret Service kicks off my top 10 of 2015. I think more than earned its spot on my top 10, and while I wasn't in love with this, I really, really like this film, and boom, there you go, Kingsman: Secret Service on the top 10. Number 9, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now look, do I have issues with Star Wars: The Force Awakens? Yes. You look at Star Wars: The Force Awakens and you put it under a microscope, and you really examine it from a distance, its flaws are going to be quite apparent, very clear. But with that said, it's very hard to find a perfect movie as it is, and for my money, there was no better experience watching something in the theater than Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And I've seen the film twice, and both times I was happy as a pig in shit just letting this film happen. And look, does it speak to my Star Wars fandom? Absolutely. And that's once again why these are personal lists. But it felt like Star Wars again. And that's what I really wanted. As somebody who has been a lifelong Star Wars fan and would suffer through the prequels, what I really wanted to get out of Star Wars: The Force Awakens is a movie that once again felt like it belonged in the Star Wars saga. Between the old characters, with Harrison Ford returning as Han Solo, Peter Mayhew back in there as Chewbacca, Carrie Fisher coming back as Princess Leia, kind of giving that nostalgic feel to it, in addition to all of the new characters that really nailed it. Daisy Ridley as Rey, fantastic. I love John Boyega as Finn. I am a huge fan of Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. And watching this film twice, once in just a press screening, and then once with the general public, both times I was able to watch it, the issues just kind of faded away. I was lost in the moment. And that's one of the things that I really wanted a Star Wars film to deliver on. And it's a credit to Lucasfilm, it's a credit to Disney, it's a credit to J.J. Abrams that they were able to keep so much to themselves heading into this film at a time where big films of this nature give away so much before you even set foot in the theater. This was something that actually let me sit down and enjoy it, just kind of let the magic happen. And Star Wars The Force Awakens recaptured the magic, and it hit me on a number of levels. So while I wouldn't look at Star Wars The Force Awakens and say, this is an amazing movie, I would say this is an amazing film-going experience. I think it's well placed in the overall saga. I already plan on going back to see it again as we head into 2016. I look forward to watching it a number of times in the future, which is something that I really can't say about episodes 1, 2, and 3. So in that respect, how could I not put Star Wars The Force Awakens on my top 10? Because it rejuvenated my enthusiasm and my love for Star Wars. I think it hit all the right buttons as far as old and new. And it's just an enjoyable thing, an enjoyable movie to watch. Does it stand up against heavy scrutiny? No, but not all films are meant to. Some films are just what they are, and if you like them and you enjoy them while you're in the moment, then the film has done exactly what it's supposed to do. And for that reason, that's why Star Wars The Force Awakens sits at number 9 on my top 10 of 2015. Number 8. Cough for dramatic pause. Number 8. A little bit more serious, much more dramatic. 99 Homes. Now, Ramin Barani's film about foreclosure, a dramatic tale about foreclosure in the housing crisis during the financial collapse, really kind of hit me unexpectedly. Going in, I was interested, just looking at the cast between Andrew Garfield, whose work I typically like outside of the Amazing Spider-Man films, as well as Michael Shannon, who I love. You put Michael Shannon in a movie, I'm going to fucking watch it immediately. I love watching Michael Shannon on screen. This is such a bizarre, unhinged type of individual that brings something different to every role that he plays. I love watching Michael Shannon in a movie. So you stick the two of them together in a film, and I'm intrigued to watch it. And look, I live in Florida, so I kind of live at ground zero of the housing bubble collapsing, and seeing foreclosures and short sales and evictions and people kind of being upside down on their mortgages. I've seen so much of this, especially in this past year, where my wife and I just bought our first house. In going out and looking for a house, seeing so many houses, seeing foreclosures, seeing the condition those houses were in, seeing how people just didn't give a shit anymore and wrecked so many of them, and the anger and the frustration. I know people who were upside down on their mortgages and had to get out of way overvalued property, losing so much of their investment and kind of just kissing it all goodbye. So I've seen this, and 99 Homes really, really hit those spots that I remember, with Andrew Garfield as a young father trying to save his family's home and from foreclosure. Actually, the house is foreclosed upon. They are evicted, and watching what he is willing to go through, to what lengths he is willing to go in order to get that home back, to get that sense of self, that sense of family, that sense of who they are that they've always grown up with, to the point that he is willing to make a deal with the devil who is essentially played by Michael Shannon as a real estate agent who is helping the banks foreclose upon these homes and then figuring out how to turn them around and make huge amounts of profit on the backs of these poor, unfortunate people who were buying houses that they had no business buying with loans that they couldn't keep up with. You know, once again, feeding into the financial crisis. And it's a film that you watch that is compelling, it's interesting, it's aggravating, it's angering. I mean, this is a film that hits the emotional buttons that it's supposed to, and I just thought it was so good. I thought Michael Shannon is fantastic. I cannot say enough good things about Michael Shannon, but seeing Michael Shannon here in such a cutthroat role, I thought just it was one of the best performances of the year. I think Andrew Garfield plays this ethically compromised individual who understands the stakes for other people, but also needs to think of himself and his own family first. 99 Homes, a smaller film. If you haven't seen it, I cannot recommend it enough that you go check this one out. Really dug it, and as a result, 99 Homes managed to kind of sledgehammer its way onto the top 10, because even now, thinking about it, I get so pissed thinking about the story that this film tells, but it is so good, and I highly recommend that you search this one out and check it out as we head into 2016. Number 7 on my list, The Martian. Look, Ridley Scott. You look at a Ridley Scott film now from a distance, and you're kind of iffy on it. You are. Exodus, not very good. Prometheus, not very good. I didn't like Robin Hood. Over the last few years, Ridley Scott hasn't really connected as he has in the past. But The Martian is fantastic. And look, you have Drew Goddard penning the script, adapting from Andy Weir's novel, with Matt Damon left behind on Mars, fighting for survival, and then everyone down on Earth fighting for a way to kind of extend his life and figure out how they might be able to get there and rescue him once they figure out he's still alive. The Martian is a roller coaster ride of pretty epic proportions, with an ensemble cast that is outstanding. I mean, you run down the cast list, and I don't know that you're gonna find a film. Oh, that's not true. You might with one or two other films, maybe something like Spotlight, or a certain Tarantino film, which we might get to very shortly. But you look at the cast list for The Martian, and I mean, it's a who's who of outstanding talent. Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Kristen Wiig, Jeff Daniels, Michael Pena, Kate Mara, Sean Bean, Sebastian Stan, Chiwetel Ejiofor. How do you look at that and be like, oh, there's not a weak link? Donald Glover, Mackenzie Davis. The Martian is really good. And the thing about The Martian that hits so well is that Matt Damon is so likable in this film as Mark Watney. So you get a rooting interest in his survival. This isn't a guy that you wish bad things upon. This is a guy that you desperately hope will make it out of this thing okay. And the way that Goddard and Scott work with this film is that they understand how to lure you in as an audience member to go along with this journey. So even when something good happens to Mark Watney, something bad is soon to happen to pull you right back, to throw some obstacles in his way that once again make you wonder, whether or not everything's going to be okay. Add a sense of danger to this film. So while you are hopeful, you are also realistic. And, The Martian doesn't dumb down the science. It just hits you right with it. It's not played to the cheap seats. It trusts the audience that they are going to be able to follow this journey and everything that comes with it. They don't over-explain. There's not too much exposition. They trust that you're going to come along and they're going to make it authentic as possible. When you're dealing with the space program and NASA, they make it as authentic as possible so that when you witness it, it puts you in the moment. They're not asking for you to take huge leaps of faith. They're not asking for you to believe that deep sea oil drillers can end up in outer space. No, this is pretty dead on accurate, at least in the believability realm for you. You don't really question it, and as a result, everything seems to fall into place with The Martian. And The Martian, for me, was just it's a thrilling adventure. A thrilling adventure. You are on the edge of the seat. You are holding your breath. You feel your pulse racing. You feel your palms getting a little bit sweaty. Ridley Scott really delivered on The Martian, and for that, The Martian makes my year-end top 10 list of 2015. All right, so now we're at number 6. Now we're getting into the films that I really deeply love. I have incredible affection for. And we start at number 6 with The Hateful Eight. Yes, Tarantino on this list. It's almost a certainty. Tarantino makes a film, it's probably going to end up on my top 10. Death Proof might not have made it. But in retrospect, having revisited Death Proof in recent weeks, it would have been really close. I'm one of the Tarantino faithful. I love Tarantino as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, as a writer. I think Tarantino, not that he can't do any wrong, but he hasn't done wrong by me yet. I can't look at anything on Tarantino's resume and be like, nah, not for me. There are some that I think have more rewatchability, but every Tarantino film is different and feels special. You feel like you're looking at something you haven't seen before. And which is odd because he's so heavily influenced by things that he's seen before. But he puts his Tarantino mark on it. His fingerprints are all over every film that he makes. And as a result, you're always getting something unique. You're always getting something different. You're always getting something challenging. Now, I don't know where I'd rate The Hateful Eight on my Tarantino list. Like if I were to run down Tarantino's resume and try and rank all of Tarantino's films, I don't know where The Hateful Eight would rank. I think it'd probably be somewhere in the middle to bottom half. I don't think it's his best, but that's not a knock on The Hateful Eight. That just means that Tarantino is constantly churning out quality with each new picture. People would kill to have The Hateful Eight on their resume. There are directors who are like, I wish I can make a Hateful Eight at some time in my lifetime. So for Tarantino's film, which isn't quite a masterpiece, but is really exceptional, it's once again a testament to how good he is. And The Hateful Eight is quintessential Tarantino. I mean, it's violent, as you expect a Tarantino film to be. It is dark. It is brutal. It is punishing. It is smart. It is tense. It is so well crafted. I mean, it is a giant puzzle pieced together where every little thing matters, every little thing counts for something. It is masterful. And yet it's still not his best work. That is saying something. And I know people will look at it and they'll see the running time and they go, God, 3 hours, I don't know. The movie kind of flies by. Because once again, these interactions within the characters who are all despicable and yet all so rich and incredibly interesting. The Tarantino dialogue just rolls right out of their mouth, just right off their tongue, and it's so compelling to watch these conversations take place. It's so compelling to watch them play off of each other as you start to learn and understand that not everyone in this cabin together is who they say they are. Everyone in here is a little bit of a liar. There's a lot of deception at play. And there's a whodunit aspect to it that makes you start to think of it. There's tons of shades of gray all over this film and all over these characters, which is, I love that about Tarantino. I love that about any movie that's willing to go and add some complexity to their characters. Not necessarily make everyone so good or so bad, but make them a little bit of everything, kind of like we all are. And this is a film that builds and builds and builds and builds, and you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are waiting desperately for those bad things to start happening because it's a Tarantino film and you know that they're coming. But while you're waiting, you are just engrossed by everything that is happening on the screen. And if you have a chance to see it in the 70mm Roadshow version, by all means, please do. But The Hateful Eight, one of the best films of 2015, no question, in my mind. And that's why it sits at number 6 on my year-end list. Excuse me. All right, let's move on. Let's get to the top half now. Number 5, Anomalisa. Oh my God. I cannot say enough good things about this movie. I love this movie. If this movie was a woman, I would smooch all over her. Consensually, of course. I love this movie. And the strange thing about it is that it probably does not love me back. Because while Anomalisa is so beautiful, it is incredibly sad. If you want a more in-depth review of Anomalisa, you could check out my recent movie review podcast, Just the Worst Movie Review Podcast number 14 with Todd Gilchrist, where we just kind of drool all over Anomalisa. But Charlie Kaufman and Duke Johnson's stop-motion animated puppet film really gets and some human emotions that we don't talk about too often. You know, sort of the mundaneness of life. How things kind of get boring every day when you're doing the same thing. How life is kind of a series of routines. And that while your expectations for life and your chase for happiness may disappoint you, it's probably inevitable for that to happen anyway. We live at a time where everyone thinks that happiness is around the corner, that they can just go out and get it, or that something else that they don't have will make them happy. And it doesn't have to be a material thing. It could be an experience. It could be a person. It just comes from finding unhappiness in your own life, having some type of hole, some type of void that you hope something else can fill for you, but it can't. It's impossible. You're chasing a rainbow. You're chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Even if you were able to climb up on a rainbow and run along it, looking for the pot of gold, you'd probably be running and looking forever. It's like chasing the horizon because you think happiness rests there. You're never going to get it. And it sits with our desire to find something better, that what we have isn't good enough. And that's why we're unhappy. Some deep shit in this movie. Some real heavy, thought-provoking, introspective ideas. Themes that we never talk about or examine in ourselves or in others. And Kaufman and Johnson have managed to just nail it so beautifully. In this one encounter between David Thewlis and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and the chance encounter they have, and as a result, the night they spend together enjoying each other's company, where everything else that feels so different than anything else and everything else. Anomalisa is one that you absolutely have to track down. And look, it pays that it's just opening now. It's opening, I think, in just limited release in New York and LA. As we head into 2016 in January, you're going to be able to catch this one wide. But Anomalisa it's so different, and the fact that it deals with such real human emotions, does it through the presentation of stop motion animation and puppets, and doesn't really get stuck on that. Very quickly, you're able to sort of identify with these characters, and what they're going through emotionally resonates with you, that you don't see a puppet movie. You see these as real characters. You see them as real people, which is a testament to how well Kaufman and Johnson tell this story, is that they're not real people. But they are about as human can get. And as a result, Anomalisa is a fantastic film. It truly is. Please go find this movie and watch it. Because I think it will hit hard with you. And that's why it's number 5 on my top 10 of 2015. Number 4 on my list, The Gift. I love this little psychological thriller. This is Joel Edgerton's directorial debut. It stars him, is my pal Gordo, my friend Gordo, as well as Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall. The Gift is one that haunted me for a number of weeks. Still haunts me to this day. About a guy trying to let bygones be bygones with some new neighbors one of which happens to be an old classmate from high school. Now, the less you know about The Gift going in, the better. If you have not seen The Gift to this point, just stop what you're doing. Even pause this podcast. Go out and track it down and find it. Spend the next 2 hours watching it, and then resume listening to this podcast. Because The Gift will have you on the edge of your seat. The Gift is a film that, as you watch it, you will really have no idea where it's going. You may think you do, but you won't. Because, and I'm going to try and be as vague as possible without ruining anything for you. And once again, this is why I told you, please just go watch it, because going into this movie knowing as little as possible is the best way you could possibly do it. But this film, once again, I mentioned Shades of Grey earlier and how much I love them when it comes to my characters. I love that every character in this film is Shades of Grey. There are no characters here who are as wholesome as they would like you to think they are, or as evil as you would like to think they are. Every character is justified in their actions, and as a result, it really starts to get to your own ethical core as well as you watch this film and try to determine who is right, who is wrong. This film is uncomfortable in all the right ways. And I don't mean that you're going to sit there, and get squeamish. I just mean this film is haunting and unsettling and eerie. I have you feeling uneasy as you watch it because you're so uncertain of where things are going and the true nature of the characters involved. I love The Gift. I really do. And I hope that if you haven't seen it yet, you go and track it down. If you have seen it yet, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know anyone who has seen The Gift and walked away not impressed. Everyone I know who has seen The Gift walked away and said to themselves, wow, that was really fucking good. And I'm even willing to ante it up a little bit further and say it's not just really fucking good. The Gift is great. A fantastic film. Please search this one out. And I'm gonna move on because I don't want to talk too much about it. Beyond that. In case you didn't heed my warning and plowed through anyway. But The Gift more than earned its spot at number 4 on my top 10 list of 2015. And it's definitely one that I hope you will take the time to go out of your way and seek out. Number 3 on my top 10 of 2015, Carol. Oh, what a gorgeous, exquisite film Carol is. Todd Haynes' story of forbidden romance between two women, Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara, in the 1950s is incredible. This movie is top notch. And it's so subtle. This isn't some grandiose love story with all these grand gestures. This movie is so subtle. It's so quiet. It looks amazing. And it gets at just gets right at your heart as far as watching people find someone that they fall in love with because there's just a connection there. And these two characters, played by Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara, whose names escape me. Let me get it though, so I have it. But it's here we go. It's Therese and Carol. Duh. How did that manage to escape me? There are different points in their life. One's a much older woman. Carol is married. Cate Blanchett's Carol is married. She has a daughter. And yet she cannot really be so overt with the fact that she kind of has a thing for women. And Therese is just, she's a shop girl, but and she's still trying to find out what she wants out of life. She wants to be a photographer. She kind of goes through the motions of having a boyfriend and moving in with that, but there is this draw to Carol. So you have two women who are trying to find themselves at different points in their life. Carol is trying to get divorced. She's trying to make her husband understand that this isn't what she wants out of life anymore. And Carol's life, and Therese, Rooney Mara's character is really, her life is just starting. She's probably in her early 20s. She's still trying to figure out what to do. And at this time in the 1950s, in New York, New Jersey area, you have to remember, lesbians wasn't a thing. You didn't really go public with that. It was something you had to very much keep to yourself. Now, these are two women who are somewhat willing to embrace it, but there also is a price to pay for following through on any of those romantic interests. And Carol it's heartbreaking. And it's beautiful. And it's romantic. And it's so involving. You want good things for these people. You want to see all of this work out. But you also know that it's set up in a climate where success is a hard thing to achieve. I mean, think to where we are right now in 2015/2016, where there's still fights for marriage equality going on. And even though there has been success in that battle, there are still people today who will not recognize it, who will not accept it, who continue to fight against it. So now go back 60 years and imagine what these two characters are going through as they realize the deep feelings that they have for one another. Carol may not look like a traditional love story on the surface, but it gets at some real intimate emotions that I think just your own humanity cannot help but want these two women to find whatever it is that they are looking for, whether it be with each other or by themselves. And as a result, Carol takes you on one pretty amazing journey. And for that, it's number 3 on my top 10 of 2015. Number 2, Sicario. Oh, Sicario hit me right into all the sweet spots. My gut hit me in the heart, in the head, with my eyes. Sicario is a movie that fires on all cylinders. You want a movie about drug war? This is it. And not one of those glorified ones where the cartels or the drug dealers look so cool and amazing. Oh, no. This is a film that's ugly and it's nasty. And Denis Villeneuve's film pulls no punches whatsoever about the drug war, about the cartels, about what needs to be done. Excuse me again. In order to even try and make a dent in the drug war, in the drug trade, what the rules of engagement are. Because while people can look at this, at the drug war from some idealistic point of view, Sicario pulls back the curtain in a major way and lets you know that war is nasty. You can't fight a war like this with ideals and hope to come out on top. Fire needs to be fought with fire. And Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin are amazing in this film. That whole trio right there is amazing in this film. And Roger Deakins' cinematography makes this film look amazing, incredible. And it's so tense. There are different setups that you're just waiting for the shit to hit the fan. And it's another film that just has this level of uneasiness to it. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Once again, we're dealing with the drug war here. This isn't something where everyone's going to come out looking rosy. What is a victory or a win in a film like Sicario? And while you'd like to go into a film like this with a little bit of hope, Sicario is bleak as hell. And it's interesting as hell. And it's great as hell. And for that, Sicario sits at number 2 on my top 10 films of 2015. Well, we've come this far, ladies and gentlemen. We've gotten to the top of the mountaintop to truly look at the number 1 film, my number 1 movie, the top of the heap for 2015. And I don't think you'll be too surprised to find out that it is Mad Max Fury Road. Oh, what a fucking movie! George Miller goes back to the post-apocalyptic landscape and makes an unbelievable motion picture. And it's done with such simplicity, story-wise. I mean, it's a 2-hour road chase movie. But it never lets up. I mean, this is a ride that you have to really strap in for. Visually incredible. The action, the stunt work, unbelievable. When you look at this film. And it's all done practically. There's no CGI here. This is real cars out on the road with incredible stunt work happening. And Tom Hardy as Mad Max is this quiet hero. But it's Charlize Theron's Furiosa who really steals the movie. I mean, this is one of the best female protagonists we have seen come in a major Hollywood picture in years. This is, when people say, oh, there's not enough strong female characters, Furiosa is like the epitome of strong female character. And it's not just because she's a badass. It's because she's given so much responsibility, so much to do. Mad Max Fury Road is a dazzling movie. It's incredible. I mean, people look at movies and they say, they don't make them like they used to. But Mad Max Fury Road is kind of like they used to. It is unheard of for a studio to give a filmmaker this much time and this much money to make a film like this, and then for people to be able to respond to it. Mad Max Fury Road. Oh. What a tremendous motion picture. I mean, really tremendous. And this is one of these films, this is an instant classic. This is one of these films we're still going to be talking about years from now. This is a special movie in every sense. And for that, there was no question for me, even before I started penning this list, that at number 1, Mad Max Fury Road would sit on the throne. And there it is. My best movie of 2015. Numero uno. Mad Max Fury Road. So there you have it. That's my top 10 of 2015. Like I said, my own personal list. These are the films that connected with me. Did they connect with you? I hope so. I hope they connected with you as well as they did with me. And if you haven't seen any of them, please, by all means, go seek them out. And see if they did. Maybe you missed something. I'd hate for that to happen. And you know what? If you check them out and you didn't like them, well, at least you tried. But I think all 10 of these films are really fantastic and films that you should by all means try to add to your movie-going experience. Even if you have to catch them digitally or on Blu-ray or whatever, I think there's still ones that are good uses of your time that I would hope you'd at least give a look to. You may find something that hits you as well as it hit for me. That's going to do it, though. That's the show. That's all of it. All 10. We ran them all down, so there you go. It's been a pretty interesting 2015. We got this podcast up and running, so I'm really thankful for that. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to them. So, look, make sure you follow us on social media. Hit up the Just the Worst Podcast Twitter handle at JTW Podcast. You can also follow me at Infamous Kid. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/Just the Worst Podcast. And as well as you can follow myself, facebook.com/Billy the Kid. Apparently we had some issues with the server getting hacked, so the URL and the feeds, once again, we're dealing with it. I promise you. I know I've been saying it for weeks, but it's just one other thing of shit that we got to go through. We're trying to hammer it out as quickly as we can. But in the meantime, SoundCloud.com, that's where to get all the podcasts. SoundCloud.com, just do a search for Just the Worst Podcast. All our shows, all our episodes will be there for the taking. So consume them, listen to them, take them all in, and hopefully you'll find something that you really like. And as always, you can find all my work at JoeBlow.com. This is Infamous, as well as right here at Just the Worst Podcast. So once again, I really thank you for grabbing a hold of these episodes as we made it through 2015. Hopefully, we're still on the way up in 2016. And look, Happy New Year! Whether you're listening to this before the New Year or you're listening to this after the New Year, Happy New Year! I hope it was a good one. I hope 2016 is even better for all of us. And until next week, where we look at what we anticipate the most, I'm going to have to get out of here. So, I've been your host, Billy Donnelly. This has been Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 16. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. I'm out. Peace. Just the Worst Podcast, episode number 16, has been a presentation of Just the Worst Podcast.